If the U.S. could take Marjah, hold it, and win over the local population, it would prove that America's new counterinsurgency strategy actually worked. If it failed, it would signal that even the world's most powerful military couldn't defeat an entrenched insurgency on its own terms. American officials openly said Marjah would be the biggest test of the war. The idea was bold and controversial: warn civilians ahead of time, move in with overwhelming force, push out the Taliban, and immediately replace them with Afghan governance. It was supposed to be a textbook operation: clear, hold, and build. But war rarely follows textbooks. As the operation began, helicopters thundered across the sky, kicking up clouds of dust as Marines landed on the outskirts of Marjah. It was one of the largest air assaults since Vietnam. On paper, the numbers looked convincing. Around 15,000 coalition troops against an estimated few thousand Taliban fighters. Yet almost immediately, the reality on the ground proved far more complex. The Taliban didn't stand and fight in large formations. They melted into the population, leaving behind a deadly maze of improvised explosive devices, hidden weapons caches, and sniper positions that turned every street into a potential death trap. Marjah wasn't a city in a traditional sense. It was a patchwork of mud compounds, irrigation canals, poppy fields, and narrow paths. That terrain favored insurgents who knew every corner, every hiding place, every escape route. For American and British troops, even moving a few hundred meters could take hours. Every step had to be checked for explosives. Every doorway could conceal a fighter. The fear wasn't loud. Battles it was the silence, the waiting, the uncertainty. One of the most dangerous enemies in Marjah wasn't a visible fighter at all, but the roadside bomb. These IEDs were cheap, easy to build, and devastatingly effective. They injured and killed more coalition troops than gunfire. Marines described the ground itself as the enemy. Clearing a single road could take an entire day, and even then, it might not be safe the next morning. This slow pace frustrated commanders who were under intense pressure back home to show progress. At the same time, the operation was unfolding under the glare of global media. Journalists were embedded with troops, broadcasting real-time footage of firefights and casualties. Every mistake, every delay, every civilian death was magnified. The Battle of Marjah wasn't just being fought on the ground. It was being fought in living rooms across America and the UK. Public support for the war was already fragile, and Marjah was supposed to restore confidence. Instead, it raised uncomfortable questions. The Taliban adapted quickly. Rather than defending territory at all costs, they focused on assassinations, intimidation, and propaganda. Local Afghan officials installed by NATO were targeted almost immediately. Teachers, police officers, and village elders who cooperated with coalition forces were threatened or killed. For civilians, the message was clear. The Americans might be here today, but the Taliban would still be here tomorrow. That fear made winning hearts and minds far harder than any military planner had predicted. For us commanders, Marjah exposed a painful contradiction. Militarily, coalition forces could take almost any position they wanted. Politically and socially, holding it was another matter entirely. Building trust required time, security, and functioning Afghan institutions, things that couldn't be delivered overnight. Corruption within the Afghan government further undermined the mission. Some locals saw little difference between Taliban taxation and government bribery. The promise of a better future felt distant and uncertain. As weeks turned into months, it became clear that Marjah was not the quick victory many had hoped for. Official statements spoke of progress, but privately, military leaders acknowledged the operation was falling short of expectations. The Taliban hadn't been destroyed. They had dispersed. Violence continued. Governance was fragile. And the population remained caught between two forces neither fully trusted. Yet calling Marjah a simple failure would miss the bigger picture. The battle became a turning point in how the Afghan war was understood. It revealed that large-scale military operations, even when executed with precision and planning, could not solve fundamentally political problems. It forced the U.S. to confront the limits of counterinsurgency in a country shaped by decades of conflict, tribal loyalties, and foreign intervention. If you want to understand why the Afghan war unfolded the way it did, you have to understand Marjah. It was the moment when confidence met complexity, when strategy met reality, and when the limits of force became impossible to ignore. This single town, surrounded by canals and poppy fields, became a mirror reflecting the challenges of an entire war. And as history continues to judge America's longest conflict, Marjah remains a reminder that modern wars are not just fought with weapons, but with trust, time, and choices that echo long after the shooting stops. If you want deeper stories like this and the untold truths behind modern wars, make sure to check out the next video on the channel and stay connected for more.